Hello friends, welcome back to Random Hearts. Today we are standing in our office slash craft room and we are going to be doing a special project today. I have a surprise party to attend this evening and this is for a friend who is a gardener. Now she just moved into a new house this summer, so she did not have a lot of opportunity to garden this year, but I did give her some starts that I had grown in my house this year so that she would have those, and I know she appreciated that, so I'm pretty certain she's going to appreciate this gift today. So we are going to be making a sign for her garden. My husband cut the wood for this yesterday and attached it, and then we are also going to put together a little gardener's basket. Now there are things that gardeners need replaced all the time. And so I am going to show you some of those things that are great ideas for a gardener as a gift idea. So without any further ado, let's get started. So this is our sign blank. This part right here is 16 inches long by 4 inches wide. We have attached it countersunk on the back with a 1.5 inch piece of pine stock. We are going to put our message on the front here, and then I will seal the entire thing. And it does have a driving part on the bottom, and this is where you can hammer it into the ground. So it should be pretty sturdy. We are going to be using my Cricut to help me with the process, but I will not be using the vinyl. I will actually be painting. So let's get started with that. I have a general shape cut out on my screen that is 4 by 16, and I'm just visualizing what this will look like on the blank. I do not need to cut this part out, so I will actually hide the shape and only cut out what I need. And I'm actually just using this as an outline. I will be actually painting this, so I'm going to go ahead and cut it and weed out reverse. I'll show you that in a minute. So let's go ahead and make this. I do apologize for not sharing exactly how I put this together on my iPad. I am still fairly new with the iPad and using that with my Cricut. I have used my Mac for many years with the Cricut, but I got this iPad for my birthday, so I've been trying to utilize it a little more. It is a little more of a challenge to use the iPad. I kind of prefer using a computer, but this is more mobile. And so this is actually my second cut on this. And if you are afraid that you don't have enough vinyl, definitely cut your piece on something else that you can basically throw away. Because for some reason, it did not line up on my mat correctly. And so the tops of my friend's name were cut off. Anyway, I will share the fonts. For my friend's name, I used chalk eraser. And for the Garden of Whedon, I used Birthday Party, which I felt was very fitting for this project. So we'll cut this and then we'll start weeding out the material. All right, so now here comes the tricky part. I'm actually going to take this completely off of the mat. I don't need my mat anymore, so I can put that aside. And I need to weed out the interior. So I want to keep this outside and get rid of the inside pieces. And I probably should have done this on black so you could see it easier. But I'm just going to basically make myself a stencil. And like I said, none of this is going to stay on that. But you can see it is weeded out reverse. So I'll just keep doing that until I have the whole thing. I'm just weeding out the smaller lettering down at the bottom. I did have a little problem with the A coming off, and if that happens, you just press it back down really quick. I do have problems with my eyes, and I probably should have taken my glasses off. I would have seen these better. There is a light that you can buy, and I do not use the Cricut tweezers. I have Mrs. Grossman's tweezers. I bought those tweezers years ago when stickers were popular for scrapbooking and stamping projects, and I've held on to them because of their unique shape. They have a sharp point on the end of them that helps me to get into smaller areas and get under layers, like this transfer tape, which was giving me quite the pain. I did hit my tripod there trying to put trash away. But you'll see in a minute that I had a little bit of an issue with the transfer tape and this piece of vinyl. It clung to it. And so I had to kind of, I almost had a moment of panic because remember, this is my second cut of this and I didn't want anything to come off with it. So I troubleshooted here a little bit and I decided to go ahead and put some tape on the corners of the vinyl piece so that it wouldn't leave my work mat. So that seemed to help quite a bit. And then I was able to put the transfer tape on without any problem. It just was sticking to it for some reason. And so I'm just burnishing that down right now, getting a good seal between the transfer tape and the vinyl. I do that on both sides. And then I'm going to move it onto my wood blank. Why is it when you are in a hurry, something inevitably does not go the way you had planned? So when I went to take this paper backing off of my vinyl, it should have just easily come off and it got stuck. And I thought for a second, oh my gosh, I might have to redo this. But it did turn out okay, and I am now ready to add it to my blank. I'm going to burnish that down and then take the transfer tape off. And then I'm going to take the tedious task of using a fine-tipped pencil and outlining on the inside of each of those letters. I'm just doing this very lightly so that it doesn't show up behind my paint. And then I'm going to take the vinyl off, which did prove to be a little bit tricky because this is raw wood, and so it wanted to stick to the wood. But I did get it all off, and now we're ready to paint. So this is kind of my inspiration for this sign. I'm going to be using some of the colors in this apron to paint the sign. This is part of her gift, and so I want to use the same color, green, blue, the reds, and the oranges. And so I will mix up some colors here and then we'll get started with that. This actually turned out to be quite a bit harder than I thought it was going to be. For some reason, my hand was shaking pretty badly on the morning that I was doing this. And on top of it, I was in a time crunch. I do apologize that I am blocking your view. I did not realize that I was in front of the camera. And so just know that I am filling in the pencil lines that I've just made with my paint. I did have one brush that I wanted to use, but it must not have been stored correctly because the hairs on it were not in very good shape and I had a stray hair that kept getting in my way. So I do switch brushes here in a minute because it was getting to the point where I just couldn't work with it. And this just took quite a while. I did this before I went to work and I did not realize it was going to take me this long. So hopefully this sped up footage will help you to see it was not an easy task to get that lettering in there. So friends, this is what it looks like after one coat. And I don't have a very steady hand, but I will show you some tricks I use at the end to make this look a little nicer. I do need to put a second coat on the lettering, And then I'm going to freehand probably a tomato and maybe some carrots, maybe a pea or two on here. I do want some of that green. And so I will continue working on this. I am doing this pretty early in the morning, and so I do need to go to work. So this is gonna sit and dry for a little while. And it's not showing up the right color on camera. It is kind of a turquoise color. But I will come back to this later this afternoon and we will get this finished. I did pencil in my tomato and my carrot. And unfortunately, I kind of got into my video footage on the last one. So I'm gonna try to stay out of frame as much as possible so you guys can just see what I'm doing here. I'm really just trying to fill in my drawing. I have a little bit of trouble seeing this, so I'm actually going to take my glasses off. I see up close better than I do far away. So I'm going to actually take my glasses off to paint this. I've always been able to see up close better than far away, but as I have aged, that has gotten even worse, and I literally cannot see things up close with my glasses on anymore. I've even talked with my eye doctor about this, but it's just easier for me to take them off. Okay, that is my red. I want to let that sit for a little bit. I definitely had a much easier time with the painting this afternoon on this project. My coffee, I believe, was my contributing factor for my shakiness in the morning. I am just trying to keep my hand out of my own wet paint, which was a little cumbersome, and so therefore I apologize for being off screen a little. So, done with the orange. I'm going to let that sit. Those two can dry. I think I will go in with my blue and do a second coat with that very carefully so I don't overlap and touch my red and orange. The tomato needs to be completely dry and the carrot needs to be completely dry before I use my green on that. So I think I'm going to go in with my smallest brush so that I can get a little more detail. So I've got this really, really tiny brush here, like very tiny. I'm going to use that one with my blue and just kind of fill in all those areas that I think are looking a little bit rough. So I do think I forgot to mention, if you haven't noticed already, I am using acrylic paints here. They tend to dry quicker and they're easier to work with than an oil-based paint. They also do not soak into the wood quite as far as oil-based paints do. So if I were to make a serious mistake here, I could actually let it dry and then go sand the whole thing down. And hopefully that would take off enough of the paint for me to continue working with it. But I'm just filling in with the blue and cleaning up some of those rough edges. And that is all I'm going to do on that. And then I'm going to let it dry for a sec before I head into the green. Okay, we're going to go ahead and move into the green. I kind of want to mix this green a little. So I am going to take a little bit of light, a little bit of dark. This is going to be my carrot. So I'll mix that in really well. Kind of get some variation in color there. Let's turn this so it is facing me better. Wow, I'm just not very good at keeping this in frame. I could see it better, but you cannot see what I am doing. So I am just filling in the green on the carrot top. I did mix those two greens. I wanted a lighter green with some variation in it, kind of to match what a real carrot would look like. And of course, this carrot top does not look like a real one. It is based off of the aprons design. All right, and I add some darker green into this for my tomato. So I am again in a time crunch because I looked at the clock and realized that it wasn't very long until the party started, and I knew I still had quite a bit left to do on this project. I probably should have started this a few days ago, but I need to dry completely in between each coat and the steps involved to finish this project. So I still have to get the painting finished, then do a light sanding after that completely dries, add some stain to the entire project and let that dry, and then add a clear coat. So I've got quite a lot to do still. All right, we're gonna let that sit for a few minutes and kind of dry. I do want to add a little bit of detailing on here on both the tomato and on the carrot at the end. All right, I'm pretty happy with that right now. We'll let that dry for a few minutes and then we'll come back to it and finish up with the finishing touches. All right, I have actually put on 3 coats of orange and red, touched up a little bit of the green, and I am ready to add a few of the last details. So I'm going to start with my carrot. I have just darkened my orange with a little bit of brown, and we're going to go ahead and put in our little tiny bits of detail for this. I'm just adding the details on the carrot itself where the root is kind of dimpled and darker, so I'm just adding that color now. All right, I'm pretty happy with that. Now I'm going to add a little bit of a shine to my tomato. So I'm going to take my red, I'm going to add 1 drop of white to that. I'm just lightening my red ever so slightly. I was very pleased with how this was turning out. I didn't expect it to look this good. I don't consider myself very artistic. I can do some drawing and painting based on a reference, but I need something to look at for inspiration. So this made me very happy. So friends, I am waiting for this to dry now. Everything is done on it for the paint part. I did promise you that I would show you how I take care of my uneven lines, especially on writing. I would just use a paint marker like this. This one has a fine tip and it is in black. You could do black, or I also have white that I use. But you could follow along the outside edges of your writing with a paint marker. It's a lot easier to work with than a brush. But I kind of like the way this looks today. So here's my other technique. I take a piece of 400 grit sandpaper and you're like, wait a minute, that's 220. That's all I have today. We do not have any 400 right now. So I'll have to be very gentle with this when I take it outside and sand it. Like I said, I'm waiting for this to dry, so I can't do that just yet. But what I will do is I will take that sandpaper, go with the grain ever so slightly over the top, kind of rough this up a little. It won't be quite as crisp, but that's what I'm looking for. I want something that's a little more rugged, maybe just a tiny bit rustic. So after I finished sanding, I did take a tack cloth to everything and take off all the loose debris. I am now adding some classic gray stain very lightly, just kind of floating that over the surface. I am looking for a weathered look, and so I am starting with the classic gray. I'm just wiping that on and very quickly wiping it off. It is super, super light. And I'm going to do that on both sides of the sign. I did not mention that I almost always put some kind of sentiment on the back of my art pieces that I give away. So you cannot see the back of this, but I did sign it to my friend and put the date and the occasion it was made for. So I am now adding my second stain. This is Early American, and I'm putting this one on a little more thickly, but again, I'm just putting it on and quickly wiping it off. And I'm just looking for just penetration on the wood, not super dark and not trying to cover anything up. I'm just getting a very light coat of this on the whole surface. I will then let this dry, and then I will spray it with a clear coat, and that will be everything. This project did take a little longer than I expected. It took approximately 3.5 hours. That was split between the morning and the afternoon, so some of that was drying time as well. But I am very happy with how it turned out. I think it is perfect for her. Well, friends, we have come to the end of this video. Our sign is finished. It is outside drying right now, and I will show you a picture of that at the very end. It turned out super cute, and I know she's gonna love it. I did want to show you that apron up close a little bit so you could see it. It is super cute as well, and that was kind of our inspiration for that sign. Also, it's got a cute little ruffle on it and a pocket. So if you're looking to gift to a gardener, some of the things I think about are accessibility. So when you're out in the garden, a tool belt, an apron that has pockets, they even have kangaroo pouches for harvesting. Those are great ideas for a gardener. Also, I think about the first thing, what I'm going to put my gift into. So today I chose this. I believe it is a planter. It's got some holes in the bottom, but I looked at it and thought, that would be a pretty nice harvesting bucket as well. So this is what our gift is going to go into today. Also, when I'm thinking about a gardener and I'm thinking about gifts for them, I know that these kinds of things are super important. Snips, pruners, any kind of pair of scissors, cutting devices, a knife, things like that. Super important. They get dulled out or they get lost. And so this is something that I know she'll appreciate. Also, I think about seeds. And if your gardener friend or person you're gifting to is a vegetable gardener, which she is, you'll want to pick up some vegetable seeds. If they're a flower gardener, you're going to want to pick up some flower seeds. Now, here is an issue, and I have a winter birthday, so I know this is a problem. Seeds aren't available every day of the year, especially in your hardware stores or places like Walmart or Home Depot. So you'll want to think ahead of time and prepare yourself for those winter birthdays where people like myself have a winter birthday and those items are not available. So pick those up during the summer, squirrel them away somewhere so they can't find them, and then you'll have a perfect gift for them. They'll be super surprised because it's not on anybody's radar at that time of the year, except for us as gardeners. Another thing that I think is an important investment for a gift is a good set of knee pads or a kneeling pad. This one's a nice thick one. Also, you might consider watering cans, a new hose. Hoses can be very expensive, and hand nozzles. So those are just a few of the things. I also consider gloves. Some gardeners like to use gloves. I'm not a huge glove user, but gloves wear out. So over time, you need to replace those. Also, you might consider hand tools, trowels, things like that. So if you've got any other ideas on objects or things that you could put into a gift for a gardener, I'd like you to leave those down in the comments. Also, I appreciate you coming along with me today as we made this gift and put it together. And I hope you're having a lovely day. I appreciate you all being here, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.